Right now at 9, breaking news. The FBI has executed a search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach, Florida.
The investigation tied to materials Trump allegedly took from Washington, D.C. after his presidency concluded.
Natalie Bomke live with what the former president is saying about it tonight. Natalie.
The former president was in New York when this all unfolded early this morning. He was spotted leaving Trump Tower after the raid. He released a statement saying that his Palm Beach home was, quote, under siege, raided and occupied by a large group of FBI agents. He did not detail why the raid might have taken place, only calling it an act of, quote, political persecution and an attack by radical left Democrats who don't want him to run in 2024. Take a look at these photos that appear to show FBI agents at the gates of Mar-a-Lago. Sources telling Fox News tonight those agents were looking for classified material, taking 15 boxes. This happening after the matter was referred to the Justice Department by the National Archives and Records Administration.
To have 30 FBI agents, actually more than that, descend on Mar-a-Lago, give absolutely, no notice, go through the gate, start ransacking an office, ransacking a closet. They broke into a safe. He didn't even have anything in the safe. I mean, give me a break. And this is coming from what? The National Archives?
The New York Times is reporting this is not connected to the investigation of the Trump administration's attempt to undo the results of the 2020 election or the January 6th Capitol riot. We'll have more on this coming up for you at 9:30. Corey and Dawn.
Hi.
Good morning, Patriots. How you doing today? This is Mike the Patriot coming to you live from the downtown metropolis of LaMonte, Missouri. I hope you guys are having a great day wherever it is you are at. Wow, are things happening? That was the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Oh, boy. Wait till you see what's in the news today. We have lots to talk about. For all you folks going, nothing's happening. It's happening. I told you it's going to start happening. I told you that we're there. I told you that when what happened to Charlie Kirk happened, God said the clock has started. Oh, man. I played the video so that I could play other videos later on with the left crying that he's going after his political enemies. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Yeah, nothing. Yeah. Well, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. Broadcasting today on all the socials, even on the YouTubes and the Facebook, even though they suck. And if you're over there watching, make sure you follow me on the other platforms, on Rumble, on X, where I broadcast every day at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you hit the like and the heart and the whatever button it is that you do on whatever platform you're on. Do that. Share it, comment, do all that good stuff. Tag your friends in it, whatever. It's all good. And the word of the day, as given by the Lord, presented by Marine in the Woods, is John 1 through 14. That's John 1 through 14. That's the one, that song. That's that one. That's a good one. Mike's about to get taken down from California in 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Gavin Newsom haven't signed that law, but I'm waiting to see. I was on Charlie's show, Charlie Simon's Do Not Talk, and we had some California. He's out in California. He had another California guest on there. We talked about that. And I was like, it's going to affect me out here too. And he goes, no, it's just going to be us too. It's just going to be us. And I'm like, no. They're going to use this to go after everybody. That's what they're going to do. They're going to try. It's unconstitutional. And has that stopped them before? So anyways, Mar-a-Lago was raided a couple years ago because I forgot the details on some of that stuff, because the archivist referred it to the DOJ. That's important because the director of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac has returned Letitia James and Adam Shifty Schiff to the DOJ for actual real crimes that if you and I committed, we'd be in jail already. But see, the archivist said that Donald Trump had classified, highly classified, top secret information. And you know how the archivist knew that they had that? Because the archivist, a few months before the raid, sent it to him. Let me say that again slowly. The archivist knew Donald Trump had top secret classified information because he sent it. They sent it to him. Then referred it to the DOJ. And it turned out to be nothing but a big pile of crap, getting dismissed down in Florida completely. Turned out well. Turned out well. But wait, there's more. We'll get to James Comey in a minute, but there's other breaking news that if I don't do this before we get to James Comey, then I won't get covered, and I want to make sure it gets covered because this is bigger than James Comey. Breaking news, ode to Rush Limbaugh. Have you guys seen this? Oh, by the way, there's a QR code. If you want to support Patriot Mike Show, there's a QR code. Click on it. It will take you to my products. Isn't that cool? They just started that, StreamYard. So anyways, QR code up there. Just, QR'd it or code it or however you do that with your phone. I don't know. But and go over there and buy something. And what should you buy? What should you buy? Think of what should I buy? Well, you should buy something. That's just support the show. Buy something. But let me just, so you're like, what should I buy? Here's a hint. Here's a hint on what you should buy. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have a new coffee out. It's your morning coffee. It's not like my Folgers in the cup coffee that you sip on all day long. No. 1 cup a day is all you need. It gives you all day energy. It helps reduce your weight. Hello. Drink coffee, lose weight. I'm in. It also helps with your metabolism, helps with your brain fog and all that other inner stuff that you probably ought to worry about. I don't know, but go check it out. Go check it out. You can hit the QR code, but take you right there. Buy yourself a bundle of it. It's what was it? About $2.50 a day if you drink 1 cup a day. I go through a pot a day. Yeah, you don't want to go through a pot a day of this stuff. Probably don't want to do that. You start out your first cup with this stuff, then you go to the Folgers, and Folgers is or whatever it is you drink. I don't drink that crap, whatever. I buy whatever's the cheapest. Have you seen the price of coffee lately? Keep it PG-13 there. In the comment section. All right, breaking news. Ode to Rush Limbaugh. Here we go. Breaking news. John Solomon, Just the News, reporting yesterday.
I want to talk a little bit about accountability and FBI. Tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up to a major story at Just the News. It answers a question that we've tried to pose for the last 5 years. Did FBI agents themselves believe the FBI had become biased? Tomorrow, you're going to see not 1, not 2, not 5, not 10, but scores of FBI agents telling their leadership in an internal memo after January 6th that they believe the FBI had become politically biased against the conservative movement and for liberals. And they cite extraordinary circumstances, extraordinary details, extraordinary statements. It's so rare for the FBI to speak up against their leadership internally, but this happened on Chris Wray's watch. Now, all the while, Chris Wray was telling Congress, we don't have a political bias problem, even though his own agents were saying day in and day out, they in fact had a political bias problem. The other thing we're going to answer for you for the first time, we're going to be able to give you a specific number. How many plainclothes FBI agents were in the crowd and working the Capitol on the day of January 6th? Now, we knew there were 23 undercover informants. We got you that data a few months ago. Tomorrow, we're going to tell you an astounding number. Yes, it's a very large number of FBI agents that were on the scene when the riot was breaking out, all in plain clothes, all unable to be seen. Chris Wray would never answer that question to Congress. We're going to answer it for you with these documents we're going to make public. Meanwhile, on the issue of the FBI, and maybe one of the men who owns some of the legacy of that politicized FBI, James Comey, a grand jury in Richmond right now, is considering evidence about whether he lied to Congress in September of 2020. The statute of limitations coming up next Tuesday. Today, prosecutors presented evidence in that case. And remember what we told you a few weeks ago. Director Comey told Congress, I didn't ask anyone to leak classified information. Then we showed you a document a couple of weeks ago where James Baker, the chief counsel and top lieutenant to James Comey, said, no, I was asked by James Comey through the chief of staff to leak classified information to the New York Times in October 2016. That is what the grand jury is evaluating tonight. We'll let you know if during the show they make a decision or whether that gets kicked the next week, but we're keeping a close eye on that. And what?
So we got breaking news on Comey. We got breaking news. So here's the story released. The Blaze was the first one I saw to report it last night, evening time. Where is it at? The Blaze. Why don't I have the Blaze story? Oh, there it is. The Blaze. There it is. The Blaze. Bringing it. That's Glenn Beck's channel. Here it is right here. FBI had 275 plainclothes agents embedded in January 6 crowds, congressional source says. Disclosure by FBI to Congress answers a long simmering question, but does not reveal what the agents did that day. The FBI acknowledged that it had 275 plainclothes agents in the massive crowds. Like, like Mr. Epps, Mr. Ray Epps, we must go to the Capitol. We must go to the Capitol and go inside. Like that guy. This is about to be blown wide open. This is what I've been saying, that when Donald Trump became president, that they will not be able to hold a quorum in Congress. It won't be whether or not they got enough votes. It'll be whether or not they got enough people to show up because of them self-deporting either to another non-extraditable treaty country or the planet, whichever comes first. The FBI acknowledged it had 275 plainclothes agents in the crowd on January 6th, more than 4.5 years after questions were first raised about the level of FBI involvement that day. Blaze News has learned, a senior congressional source said, the number is not necessarily a surprise since the FBI often embeds counter-surveillance personnel in large events, but given the FBI's until now steadfast refusal to disclose levels of its presence at the Capitol, the figure might still be viewed with skepticism in some quarters. The news comes in the wake of claims by the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Inspector General, that the FBI had no undercover personnel. By the way, people have testified to that. James Comey has testified to that. People have testified to that under oath, that there was no FBI personnel involved in January 6 crowds. We found no evidence in the materials we reviewed or the testimony we received showing or suggesting that the FBI had undercover employees in the various protest crowds or at the Capitol on January 6th. The DOJ OIG said in an 88-page report released December 2024. Depending on how it reads, undercover agents versus plainclothes agents, both statements could be true. The same report disclosed that 26 FBI confidential human sources were in the January 6 crowds, four of whom entered the Capitol. The DOJ Inspector General said Only 3 of the FBI informants had been assigned by the Bureau to come to Washington and report on domestic terrorism suspects who were possibly attending the event. Of the 26 informants, 4 entered the Capitol during January 6th protests and rioting. The rest were outside saying, "Go into the Capitol," the OIG report said. None was authorized by the FBI to break the law and enter a restricted area. That's because they were the ones that took the signs down so nobody knew it was a restricted area. Oh, yeah. Nor was the CHS directed by the FBI to encourage others to commit illegal acts on January 6th, the report said. Representative Barry Loudermilk, the chairman of the new House January 6th Select Committee, has also expressed determination to drill down on the FBI presence and roles of agents and informants. I just got to pause right here because thought just jumped in my head. Isn't it a coinky-dink? Isn't it just a random act? Isn't it just a conspiracy theory that this report was released, that there were 275 FBI agents on January 6th, the same day that James Comey was indicted, and that the new House Select Committee, chaired by Barry Loudermilk, is about to have hearings, and they're about to call some of these FBI agents in to testify. I do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Who's cheating who's being true, and who don't even care anymore? They don't know. When they get up there and they sit in that chair and they swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, they don't know what James Comey has said. They don't know what McCabe has said. They don't know what the other FBI agents have said. In the cop movies, when they when they take one of the perpetrators, put him in one room and one of the perpetrators in the other room, and then they play them off each other. Well, the other guy's talking and he's going to get a deal. So you better. When these people start coming out to this new January 6th committee hearing, when they start coming out to that, they don't know who's squealed. They don't know who's testified behind closed doors. They don't know who the FBI in secret has interviewed. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. But with that many paid informants being in the crowd, we want to know how many were in the crowd, how many were in the building, but I also want to know, were they paid to inform or instigate? Sir, were you paid by the FBI to inform or instigate the crowd? What was it you were saying and doing that day? They don't know what the other guy was saying and interviewed behind closed doors. They don't know. By the way, the tinfoil hat, I put it on is because so that you will know when I'm talking about conspiracies I have no proof of. Everybody will see. I'm about open and transparency. I'm not about claiming things are. I have no idea if they interviewed any of these FBI agents or any of their leadership or anything, other than that there's been some indication they have been talking to people. There are whistleblowers. Other than that, I have no idea. In May of 2024 court filing, former January 6th defendant William Pope listed nearly 50 FBI agents and others working under the Bureau's auspices on January 6th, such as officers from the Joint Terrorism Task Force, Naval Criminal Investigation Service, U.S. Army Counterintelligence, and other agents who later wrote probable cause affidavits for January 6 arrest warrants. It is not clear whether those personnel would be part of the 275 employees disclosed to Congress by the FBI. The FBI has repeatedly rebuffed attempts by Congress to determine the Bureau's level of involvement. Nothing's happening. I'm telling you, it's happening. This is because Kash Patel's head of the FBI. If Donald Trump had not won the election, we would have never have known this. Either by its own agents or confidential human sources, also known as informants. The disclosure is likely to tap down questions by former January 6 defendants and others who have long questioned whether FBI personnel took part in or at least incited rioting in the crowds. Undercover Metropolitan Police Department officers have acknowledged inciting the crowds by helping protesters climb over barriers. Hello! Encourage them to continue on to the Capitol and applauding those committing vandalism. Most of the video footage shot by dozens of undercover MPD officers on January 6 has never been made public, despite attempts by Pope to dislodge the number through court motions in his January 6 criminal case. The FBI also had tactical teams at the Capitol who responded to help clear the building after Ashley Babbitt was shot outside the speaker's lobby at 2:44 p.m. Other tactical units from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives and U.S. Marshals were also inside the building. Robert says, climb over. They moved him and waved him in. Yeah, it's on video. But that video is not authorized video. See, you got to understand. Don't believe your lying eyes. Cat Turd posted this video, and I remember this video. Cat Turd posted this video. A guy arrested, brought inside the building. You remember this one? There's no sound, by the way. That's right. Fist bumping. We got it done, man. We got it done. We got the riot started. We're going to get this Trump guy. And all them mega maniacs out there. Yep. See you later, buddy. Yep. How many of y'all remember that one? How many of y'all remember that? Standard operating procedure seems to be. How about this one? You remember I've told you the story over, and I've showed the video before, that in Minneapolis, they protested after George Floyd's untimely demise from a heroin overdose. They protested 2 or 3 days in the street. And I even mentioned it at the time that I'm amazed. They're not rioting. They're not doing anything. Yeah, they're hands up, don't shoot, and all that protest stuff. And I made fun of them because they've been using the same protest songs, we shall overcome, since 1961. And I pointed that out, right? But it wasn't until a black-clad man out of a black SUV with a black umbrella walked up to the windows of the auto parts store and started busting the glass out of the auto parts store. Then he turned around and left, and a couple people chased him down. And as he was leaving, 2 other black-clad people stormed the store and started looting, raping, pillaging, whatever. Almost like it was planned. And then he got into his black SUV and drove away. Umbrella man, I called him. That's, crowd theory. You cannot control what one individual does. One individual is unpredictable, but a crowd is totally predictable. When they kicked it off, and then the 2 guys went in, well, they're doing it. I'm doing it too. And it was off. The whole city burnt to the ground. Well, the same thing was done on January 6th. By the same sorts of people. They didn't have the umbrella.
A radio journalist from Michigan was shooting video that day at the Capitol. What he captured were two, most charitably called suspicious actors, but they are dressed in such a way that led him to believe that they were government agents. And one of them, after the windows had been broken by a protester, it was encouraging people to pull the rest of the glass out and go inside. Bobby Powell, who was the journalist that had shot it, and he has his camera rolling, he told him that would be illegal and that wouldn't be a good idea. He warned people off not to go into that window, and then he turned his camera around and he caught this agent or suspicious actor pulling a large pane of glass out, this tempered glass. It kind of folds into itself, crunch onto the ground. And when he realized he was being filmed,
paid actors, FBI
in the video that he did not want to be seen doing what he just did. So he pulled in a protester and started blaming him. He said, "What are you doing breaking that window?" The poor fellow that was being accused didn't know what was going on. And then he gave him a couple of really good shoves and cocked his arm like he was going to punch him. We don't know. His facial image is not on any of the Sedition Hunters sites or the FBI's most wanted site, but he clearly was committing criminal damage to property, and he has not been charged. So it raises a question of why.
Also, the individual trying to, again, opening the window up is even encouraging people to enter, I believe, as well.
Yes.
What's he saying?
Well, he said, "Why don't y'all open the rest of it up?"
Why don't you guys open up the rest of it?
Because I think that'd probably be illegal.
Well, I know my glasses.
This has been a test, and only a test, of the new YouTube community standards, because this is the kind of video that would have got you banned permanently from YouTube. But YouTube says they're turning a new leaf and that they pinky promise to never, ever, ever do it again. We'll see, won't we? Because I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if I get banned on YouTube. We'll see what happens. Good times. Good times. Yes, that was the day, and that's probably the people. I'm telling you, this whole thing's about to get busted wide open, and with them not arresting. He's supposed to be reporting today, with them going after James Comey and indicting him. When they start having hearings and they start doing more investigation into this, people are not going to know who said what to whom. And that's where the problem is going to come. Who said what to whom? That's a big deal. That's a really, really big deal. And they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to answer correctly and honestly, or plead the fifth, or if they're Nancy Pelosi, they could drink the fifth. I drink the fifth. All of it. You got another? Anyway. Rank and file FBI agents after January 6th claimed political bias infected operations, feeling like pawns in a political war, according to after action report withheld from the public for 4 years. Really? Rank and file FBI agents saying this is BS. It's it's getting even more interesting as we go on, as things start to tighten up. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to switch gears just a little bit. We'll get to the James Comey stuff in just a minute. A couple other little tidbits of information. Now, we all know about the Tylenol, and now people suffering from severe TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. Well, somebody put this, I saw one the other day where they mimicked Donald Trump and said that breathing oxygen is very, very important. I suggest that everybody breathes good, clean oxygen. We all need oxygen. So now they're putting bags over their heads so they don't have to. Well, this person right here did it all. This is it. This is the post of the day. Trump is highly against the consumption of peanuts out of your feces. He says it is really, really bad for you and has zero nutritional value. Don't disappoint us, libs. Oh, but you know, the thing is about that though, is it's really not a laughing matter.
So today my professor decided.
Oh yeah. Hold on. It's really not a laughing matter. It's really worse than that. Because here's a first-hand account of what's going on. People all over the country, posting all over TikTok, taking massive amounts of Tylenol and ODing. And here's a report on that.
So it's about, it's going to be 6 a.m. finally. And for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, I recommend that you do. I got a call, a very frantic call at 4 o'clock in the morning from a husband whose wife is now dying of liver failure on a ventilator in an ICU because she was trying to prove that Tylenol doesn't cause autism because of what Trump said on the news. Mind you, that's a Harvard study. Now, whether or not you believe the Harvard study or not is not the issue here. The issue is that she's somewhere between 23 to 25 weeks and she overdosed on Tylenol and she's going to die. She's not going to come off that ventilator. And the guy got my phone number from somebody gave it to him. I mean, guys, it's early in the morning. I'm still in Hello Kitty sweatpants in my gym trying to work out. And she's going to die. It's going to be, let me tell you something about Tylenol overdosing and death, is that if you aren't administered the antidote, it is a very slow and painful death, okay? Because Tylenol, as well as Benadryl and aspirin, are the three most common OTCs that people will typically try to unalive themselves with, so I don't get censored. But now people are just taking massive amounts of Tylenol to prove Trump wrong. I mean, weren't these the same people who put Harvard and Fauci and the pillars of science on a pedestal? And now they refuse to believe it. Like, I don't believe it either. But I'm also not going to go overdose on Tylenol either. And it's just so sad because he has to make the choice of them going and trying to emergency deliver this baby, and the baby may not survive. The baby's going to spend a long time in the NICU. Hopefully the baby will survive. And remember, guys, preemies have complications even if they do survive. I didn't ask him if he had more children. So, I mean, let's say this woman they had more children. They lost their mother. Baby's not going to grow up with the mom. He lost his whole life if this baby dies too. All because of TikTok challenges, guys. Everybody wants, well, not everybody, but maybe these crazy liberal women. They literally hate Trump so bad that she killed herself and her baby potentially. I'm just I don't even have words for this because it's such a waste of life. It's such a waste of life. This was a preventable situation. This situation didn't even have to exist. It wasn't like she woke up and was in a car accident, a freak car accident, or something fell off a building and killed her. She willfully did this herself. So I don't know. What are you guys saying? I've got to stay off TikTok because that's all the nonsense that I keep seeing right now. And I'm going to try and hopefully finish my workout in my Hello Kitty sweatpants now that I'm done helping. Well, I mean, probably not done helping this guy. He keeps calling. But I don't know. Pray for these people, folks. Pray for them. They need help.
Mike says, Dear President Trump, please advise liberals not to play Russian roulette. It's a very dangerous. Come on, man. That's not right. We're not going to be like the left and celebrate somebody's death. This is bad. But these people are insane doing it. What are you thinking? You hate someone so much that you do this to yourself. And then they're going to probably turn around and hire a lawyer, the family, and sue and all this stuff because Donald Trump said, oh. Well, you did this to yourself. You did this to yourself. You really did. It's your fault. I'm looking for another post. I have an updated post on that. Oh, here it is right here. Here's some more.
Apparently, I have upset quite a few people on Twitter/X over posting about that pregnant lady who overdosed on Tylenol. And I want to read you some of what people posted on the Twitter and maybe some of my other social medias about Tylenol. I mean, people can hate on me all they want, but this is an opportunity for people to understand how dangerous this medication can be, even though it's over the counter and it's common. As a flight nurse, as an ICU nurse, I have seen so many overdoses on this. Please excuse the dogs in the background. But one gal says, I didn't realize Tylenol was so deadly until the early 90s. I was a respiratory therapist and got called to ER for an OD. When I got there, I was told we couldn't help them because it was Tylenol and the liver was already shut down. This was the worst thing to OD on. Oh, Dr. Hold on. Okay, back to Dr. Lynn Flynn Darella. Oddly, I said 2 days ago, I wonder how many with TDS will end up with liver failure. And I'll be quite honest, we were expecting something like this to happen because if you saw on my Twitter and then I shared it to my other platforms, the number for poison control, the recommended daily allotment for Tylenol, and things like that. It doesn't take a lot of Tylenol, guys, to overdose. It's 4,000 milligrams or 4 grams. That's, I don't know, what is it? Do they have the 250 milligrams tablets? It's not that much. It really isn't. Oh, we also let you know what the antidote was. Here's another one. I'm not sure why people think you need to swallow a whole bottle. I don't believe that is true at all. I had surgery years ago and accidentally took too much Tylenol because I didn't realize it was in my Percocet. And I talked about this on Facebook. I took prescribed dosage with arthritis medicine and they accidentally overdosed. Here's another one. My friend is an RN at a local hospital and they've already had 2 cases of acetaminophen toxicity and both are pregnant. Both were reported to CPS. Both have psych holds and law enforcement is involved. WTF is wrong with people. Here's another one. I've been an RN since 1984. We have always known that overuse and overdose of Tylenol can cause liver damage and failure. It's a good drug, but like any other drug, it is not meant to be abused. People can call me a liar all that they want, but you know what? People are maybe paying attention to the fact that they shouldn't be doing this. Here's a couple other. 50 to 70,000 people a year are hospitalized because of Tylenol overdose. Liver failure and death are the 2 largest consequences. These women, trying to prove a point, are causing intentional harm to the baby and themselves, all while actually proving the point that Tylenol has consequences when overconsumed. Another one is, it's incredible how many people don't know how dangerous Tylenol can be in excess. 50% of acute liver failure cases in the US are from acetaminophen. Why did they call you and not 911? This smells like internet bullshit to me. Tell me you don't know how EMS works without telling me you don't know how EMS works. Folks, she was already at the hospital. The reason that this strange man called me at 4 a.m. my time was because somebody he knows me, follows me, had my cell phone number. And when they said, she's not going to live, this is what we need to do, somebody who trusted me and obviously has my cell phone, I must have worked with them at some point in time, said, call her and see if this is legit. Because there is a lot of mistrust in healthcare ever since 2020.
Oh, yeah.
And if any of you have followed me for any period of time since 2020, know that I do these calls all the time. Hold on. Just last week.
this video is 6 minutes long. It's on my Telegram page, and I got lots to cover today. So I just wanted to get that, just put that in there. There's people all over the country. I mean, people all over the country. Just because Donald Trump bad. I mean, if you're one of those people that are considering that, if you're thinking this, and I personally know some people who are, I haven't heard them say it myself. I've heard it. Someone called me and told me they're extremely upset that Donald Trump was Tylenol is safe and effective. I've heard that before. Tylenol is safe and effective when used properly in a proper way. Misused Tylenol is like misusing fentanyl. Now, we're going to change directions one more time, and then we're going to get to James Comey. Listen to this. Candace Owens is caught in her own trap.
I am now convinced that Candace Owens is either on drugs or living in a fucking alternate reality.
Answer questions pertaining to whether or not Charlie Kirk was converting to Catholicism and whether or not he was offered $150 million from Israel. Except I literally do not know who said either of those things.
You said them, Candace. In this episode of your show, which is still on your YouTube channel, you said both those things during episode 235. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because if you want to see Candace Owens saying Charlie Kirk was converting to Catholicism, go watch this episode. And if you want to see Candace Owens say that Charlie Kirk was offered $150 million by Israel, watch this same episode. She said both those things. She didn't even have the sense to take down the episode where she said both the things that she said she doesn't know who said. Like, do you, like, how, like, are you high? Like, are you fucking drunk? Like, you said both of them in episode 235.
Yep. So she now denies saying, I played it on my show. She now denies saying that what she said about what she said. And it's probably a true statement when she says, I don't know who said that. Because she made it up. And she's been trashed by Charlie Kirk's friends, by Charlie Kirk's pastor, by Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA organization, by other family members. You can't just make stuff up willy-nilly. It's not the way that it works. So I just wanted to put that out there just because I was calling that out day one. You can't just say stuff because you want to. Donald Trump posted this yesterday.
What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up all the way going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
Can I ask you about that, Mr. President? Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room right here. This was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out, but it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And they used that. Now, the one thing they weren't able to do was and probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted, an admitted fraud. She paid $12 million and the Democrats for that report to a wise guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all the time, the fake news, how bad it is. But in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing, because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper. But for this one moment, they said, this is bullshit. We can't put this in. And neither could any other paper. Wall Street Journal's a lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money because they do things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion.
Well, he's saying treason, and he named names. And now those names are in the news. How wonderful is this? By the way, just sitting here watching gold at 3803. That's 3,803. And silver flirting with 4,600. Excuse me, 4,600. $46. 4,600. We the cities would be burning. 45.90. 45.90. Bouncing around. We will see. Will it get to 46 today? I don't know. But gold is trading now above 3,800. It is. So what's going on? What's happening? What's happening? What's breaking? There's a whole bunch of stuff out there. Pete Hegseth is having a big meeting, calling in all the generals. And in the next few days, I don't know when the actual meeting is happening, but he's having a big meeting. That's coming sooner rather than later. And breaking news yesterday afternoon, or actually, it was yesterday afternoon, about 5 o'clock. Former FBI Director James Comey indicted days after Trump demanded his DOJ move now to prosecute his enemies. Boo-hoo. He prosecuting his enemies. Boo-hoo. There's no precedent. This has never happened before. It's never, ever happened before in the history of anything happening ever. Yeah, okay, right. Here's your precedent. Here's 19 precedents right here. Wall Street Journal. Justice Department officials are racing to obtain criminal charges this week against former FBI Director James Comey, escalating President Trump's unprecedented efforts to prosecute. Just remember, you got to understand, they didn't just go after Donald Trump. They went after his attorneys. They went after his friends. They went after his chauffeur. They went after everybody around him. The attorneys he hired to represent himself had to recuse themselves because they were indicted too. They did that on purpose. Mark Elias was running around the country, going to attorneys and saying, if you defend Donald Trump, we'll come after you. We'll come after your law license. We'll start bringing all kinds of frivolous charges against you that you'll have to spend money to defend yourself. Mark Elias. Yep.
Afternoon. First,
and this is just the beginning. This is just the first one. I want you to understand this is just the first one. And what do you mean by that? Well, on the list to be soon rather than later, Tris James, Loretta St. James is about to be charged through the Southern District of New York. Now they got Comey's daughter. Okay, let's just stop. Take a deep breath. Everybody, do it with me right now. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you ready? They're not doing anything about Epstein. Oh my God. Southern District of New York, Comey's daughter was in charge of it. She's gone. Now Comey's indicted. Moving all that stuff out of the way for things to begin. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Because there's names on the list. Loretta James, Adam Shifty Shift, and Paul Sperry reporting, developing, I'm told, FBI HQ that investigators and prosecutors have been zeroing in on alleged false statements Obama's top spook, John Brennan, gave in May 11, 2023 deposition he gave in room 2237 of the Rayborn House office building developing. Will it be? Who will be next? John Brennan. They're talking about bringing charges against him soon and very soon. Soon and very soon. Attorney General Pam Bundy says this: no one's above the law. Where have I heard that before? No one's above the law? I'm thinking I've heard that. I don't know. Maybe. No one's above the law. Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. We follow the facts in this case. That's right. If you lied under oath, if I lied under oath, we'd be in jail.
Charlie.
This was tweeted many moons ago by Donald Trump. If everything seems under control, you're not going fast enough. Mario Andretti. Got to be living on the edge. You got to be living on the edge. Here's some more from Donald Trump. I think this is the one that I want.
But the radical left is causing this problem, not the right, the radical left. And it's going to get worse, and ultimately it's going to go back on them. I mean, bad things happen when they play these games. And I'll give you a little clue. The right is a lot tougher than the left. But the right's not doing this. They're not doing it, and they better not get them energized, because it won't be good for the left. And I don't want to see that happen either. I'm the president of all the people. But the radical left is causing this. The radical left Democrats are causing this problem, and it gets worse. It gets worse, and it'll be a point where other people won't take it anymore, and that will not be good for the radical left, and we don't want that. Okay, thank you.
It seems like an indictment of James Comey is imminent. Would this be the first step in accountability for pushing the hoax of Russia, along with Barack Obama involved as well?
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General and Todd Blanche and Lindsay Halligan, who's very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. And but I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. Thank you very much, everybody.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have anything to do with this. They're just going to follow the law. I'm sure he knows more. Director Kash Patel, FBI director, says this: today, your FBI took another step in this promise to fulfill accountability. For far too long, previous corrupt leadership and their enablers weaponized federal law enforcement, damaging once proud institutions and severely eroding public trust. Every day, we continue the fight to earn that trust back. And under my leadership, this FBI will confront the problem head on. Nowhere has the politicization of law enforcement more blatant than during the Russia hoax. Disgraceful chapter in the history. We continue to investigate and expose. Everyone, especially those in positions of power, will be held accountable. No matter their perch, no one is above the law. No one's 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 above the law. Just remember where we were a few years ago.
Some sort of collusion. Trump, Russian, possible collusion. Trump, Russian, metal collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russian, potentially collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russian, possible collusion. Trump, Russian, collusion. Trump, Russian collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russian, possible collusion. Russian collusion. Trump, Russian, possible collusion. Trump, Russian, possible collusion. Trump, Russians, collusion. Collusion with the Russians. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. 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 Trump, Russia, potential collusion. Trump, Russia, potential collusion. And the Kremlin and be in collusion with Putin. And the Kremlin and be in collusion. And Putin and the Kremlin and be in collusion. 17 agencies. 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed our intelligence agencies.
17 of them. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. I'm down here jamming to the music. Oh, yeah. So MSNBC breaking the story. James Comey.
Today, there were reports that she was also doubtful about this case. While she doesn't mention it by name, I'll read exactly what you see here. No one is above the law. Today's indictment reflects DOJ's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American public. That is how she puts it. Again, the effort on and the attention on misleading, that rising, according to the DOJ indictment, to what they're going to argue is a criminal level. A false statements charge, which Joyce Vance, you were just explaining, requires meeting a certain bar of materiality. We don't have the indictment yet, but the reporting prior was that this was reference to Comey answering a question about the general news and leaks policy at DOJ, and basically whether he was fully briefed on Clinton-related matters. With our final 30 seconds, your final thoughts.
Well, look, I think this is a good moment for us to all, before we jump to conclusions, wait to see the indictment, wait to see the response from Jim Comey's team. There are still barriers in the criminal justice system that prevent miscarriage of justice. A grand jury has decided that they will issue an indictment here, apparently. But there are other issues going forward, including a judge and a jury. Let's let the system work like it's intended to.
Right. We're going to get a hold of the paper. We're going to be following this, but it is an extraordinary news event to have the former FBI director indicted, especially under these terms. Thank you, Joyce. Thanks for watching. Breaking coverage continues on.
Yeah, that it's not just the generals either. Pete Hegseth has asked every major military allied leadership to come too. So what is that all about? What does that mean? It's unprecedented. It's never been seen before, not even during World War II. So they're saying, oh gosh, gee, don't get excited yet. It could be, oh, don't worry, we're okay. It's fine. We're going to be safe. Yeah. James Comey decided last night to go out and make a statement. Here's James Comey's statement.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged. You are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does.
Casino's engaged.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
I'm innocent. I've done nothing wrong. We'll find out, won't we? We shall see. We shall see. But MSNBC is kind of glum over this whole issue. Here is the panel. And one of the things I can't stand about this panel, one of the people I don't get upset about the racist or the whack jobs or the sellout. I get upset about this guy right here. He used to be chairman of the GOP, and he was nothing but an infiltrator and a traitor. Here they are.
So that selective prosecution piece is augmented or buffeted by the fact that the president was tweeting out, do it, and go after him.
And maybe if Lindsay Halligan was actually a prosecutor and actually knew some law, she would have said, Mr. President, we're going to have a problem here.
Yeah.
Ken Delanian, who had some of the original reporting on the fact that we were expecting this indictment and on this timeline, so that proved accurate. We are now hearing from the Attorney General and from the Director of the FBI. This is what Pam Bondi posted on X. No one is above the law. Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people. We will follow the facts in this case. I want you to take that, Ken, side by side with what FBI Director Kash Patel posted on X. Today, your FBI took another step in its promise of full accountability. For far too long, previous corrupt leadership and their enablers weaponized federal law enforcement, damaging once proud institutions and severely eroding public trust. I hear that sigh. I feel it too, guys. Every day, we continue the fight to earn that trust back. And under my leadership, this FBI will confront the problem head on. Nowhere was this politicization of law enforcement more blatant than during the Russiagate hoax, a disgraceful chapter in history we continue to investigate and expose. Everyone, especially those in positions of power, will be held to account no matter their perch. No one is above the law. You'll forgive me, Ken, because getting through that propaganda was a little bit difficult. But given that there was
propaganda,
that Pam,
getting to that propaganda was a little, oh goodness. Yeah. Not like what you guys did with Trump. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Trump, Russia, possible collusion. Not like what you guys did with Trump raiding Mar-a-Lago. By the way, silver's at 45.96, gold's at 38.14. Just saying. watching to see if it cracks 46.
What is your message?
This is the Benny Show about James Comey indicted, and he's got Davis on here, and here's what he says.
What is your message to James Comey?
Lawyer up, Big Jim, and we are going to be making the 6'6" prison jumpsuits as we speak, because this guy is a snake. He participated in the biggest scandal in American history. When they talk about the threat to democracy, Crossfire Hurricane and the cover-up is the gravest threat to democracy we've seen in America. And so justice is definitely coming.
Justice is coming. We're going to get the orange jumpsuit for you at the Big and Tall store. Oh, it's getting worse. Now, I'm not going to play this entire video, but the most important part I want to play is this is during the hearing. This is Ted Cruz questioning James Comey. This is the subject matter where James Comey lied under oath.
Reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation. You responded under oath, quote, never. He then asked you, quote, have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton administration? You responded again under oath, no. Now, as you know, Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly and repeatedly stated that he leaked information to the Wall Street Journal. Who's telling the truth?
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave. I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
James Gagliano, what do you make of this? The posture of this case, again, the indictment itself has not been released. This narrative that the Democrats are clinging to, that this is the weaponization, rich coming from them, by the way, this is the weaponization, Trump's weaponization of the Justice Department against his political enemy. How do you see it?
Well, Laura, I don't think anybody's doing cartwheels in the FBI or in the retired FBI ranks. Obviously, this is a stain. Now, look, the FBI's been around for 117 years. James Comey was FBI director for 3 years and 247 days. He was fired May 9th, 2017 for cause. He serves at the pleasure of the president. And I'm sorry, many of the things that James Comey did were wrong. There are 4 IG reports. And Laura, I'm wonky enough to have read every word of those 4 reports, and they were scathing. Maybe he didn't get indicted out of that, but as you pointed out, no one's above the law. And Laura, I'll leave you with this. There's a number of people that look at James Comey as the epitome of probity and moral rectitude. But there's also a lot of us that feel like a lot of this, as my colleague just mentioned, was preening and fluffing and trying to work on his legacy. Last thing, 2018, he shows up with Katie Couric at the Aspen Ideas Festival. Her last question to her is, what do you want your legacy to be? He says, I hope to be forgotten. Then book tours, 8647, and now a humiliating indictment.
So he's in trouble. This is what Donald Trump truthed out. It says, justice in America, one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI. Today, he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He has been so bad for our country for so long, and now at the beginning of beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation. Make America great again. Someone was asking me in the chat room there, what I thought silver was going to go up to. I haven't any idea. I've seen some stuff at 150 an ounce. I've seen some stuff at 4,000 an ounce for silver. By the end of the year, I think it's going to hit that. The trends continue. $75 an ounce by the end of the year, maybe for silver? I don't have the answers to that question 100%. Also, James Comey being questioned by Senator Grassley in a different hearing.
Director Comey, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
Never.
Question 2 on relatively related. Have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
No.
Has any classified information relating to President Trump or his associates been declassified and shared with the media?
Not to my knowledge.
You testified before the House Intelligence Committee that a lot of classified matters have ended up in the media recently. Without getting into any particular article, I want to emphasize that, without getting into any particular article, is there an investigation of any leaks of classified information relating to Mr. Trump or his associates?
I don't want to answer that question, Senator, for reasons I think you know. There have been a variety of leaks. Well, leaks are always a problem, but especially in the last 3 to 6 months. And where there is a leak of classified information, the FBI, if it's our information, makes a referral to the Department of Justice, or if it's another agency's information, they do the same, and then DOJ authorizes the opening of an investigation. I don't want to confirm in an open setting whether there are any investigations open.
Because they didn't open the investigation.
On that, because the government regularly acknowledges when it's investigating classified leaks. You did that in the Valerie Plame case. What's the difference here?
Well, the most important difference is I don't have authorization from the department to confirm any of the investigations they've authorized. And it may be that we can get that at some point, but I'm not going to do it sitting here in an open setting without having talked to them.
No. I can't talk about the leaks because I was the leaker. By the way, McCabe has already testified that he was ordered to leak by James Comey. Yeah. 45.99, ladies and gentlemen. Will it go over? Will it go over? Here's the indictment. And the highlighted portions of the indictment are probably important. And so we're just gonna touch on it real quick. It says statement in the matter with the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the government of the United States by falsely stating to the U.S. Senator during the Senate Judiciary Committee, that's what we just watched, hearing that he, James R. Comey Jr., had not authorized someone else in the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports. And then the other highlighted circled one is the on or about September 30th, 2020, in the Eastern District of Virginia, the defendant, James R. Comey Jr., did comply, endeavor, or influence, obstruct, or impede the due and proper exercise of the power of inquiry under which an investigation was being had before the Senate Judiciary Committee. So he was charged with a falsified statement saying he did not authorize a leak, and he was charged with obstruction by falsifying his statements. Someone says, so at the rate prices are changing, you're going to need the digital price tag. You know what? I've already decided what I'm going to do about that at Jacob Cave. on the silver, I'm priced okay on all my silver, doesn't matter. But on the gold, I'm going to put the weight, and I'm going to sell it for melt. Whatever the price is, 38.10 right now, that's what I'm going to sell it for. And I'm so good in most of that stuff, I'll be doing just fine. So here is this is the Charlie Kirk show, the people sitting in for Charlie Kirk, and they're saying that today James Comey will be surrendering himself.
Director James Comey is expected to surrender tomorrow morning. That's per CNN. So he will turn himself in.
And
so he's going to turn himself in. That's what they're saying. Okay, cool. And then now here it is. So I told you that James Comey's daughter was the lead investigator for the Southern District of New York. She was fired by Donald Trump. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Happened in relation to this is we kind of, the way they're going to hype this up, we have a deputy U.S. attorney or assistant U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. He has filed a letter to uphold my oath to the Constitution and country. I hereby resign as an assistant United States attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia in the Department of Justice, effective immediately.
Bye-bye.
Troy Edwards Jr. Now, what is funny is apparently Troy Edwards Jr. is Comey's son-in-law.
Ah,
so there it is.
That does. Well, his daughter, his daughter, who was a prosecutor for SDNY, just got fired.
I can hear Jen Psaki now saying, "This is
an
affront to the rule of law."
We should pull some of the response. I'm sure these clips are going to be great. If I know it's like happening right now.
Ryan,
but really
Riley, can you guys get some, please?
Because I'm sure they're bull.
Silver 46, just hit it, 46.025. Just let you know, in case you're curious. Might not stay there, but that's where it is. So now James Comey's son-in-law, Southern or the Western, Eastern, I don't know, whatever district of Virginia, has just resigned from his position. I wonder why. I'm sure there's no coinky-dink there. Sure, there's no coinky-dink there. Now, Steve the Bannon says this, and I don't know how true it is, but he said Bolton charges will lead to 20 years in federal prison. Well, what? According to CNN. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the trusted name in news. Let's go to CNN right here. Senior DOJ leaders advocating for charging Trump critic John Bolton this week, ladies and gentlemen. So we got Loretta St. James, we got Adam Shifty Schiff, we got John Brennan, and now we got John Bolton. They're all up. Who's next? They're all up on the clock. You know, it's kind of like the NFL draft or something. The clock is ticking. Who's next? Who are they going to choose next? Senior Justice Department leaders are advocating for a charge against President Trump's former advisor turned critic John Bolton this week, according to two sources familiar with the investigation. Currently, the prosecutors think they could bring a stronger case by the end of the year against Bolton over the mishandling of national security documents rather than pushing for a charge at this time. It comes as Trump has called his department to prosecute his political opponents. That Donald Trump has not called them to prosecute his political opponents. He's called to prosecute the criminals that have committed crimes. And the Justice Department prosecutors are looking at charging another adversary, former FBI Director Jim Comey. Well, they just did. Some political leadership at the Justice Department see Bolton case as a way to charge a criminal case Trump would like to see to placate the president. No. Another source told CNN. No. Bolton, if he's charged, will be charged because he possessed classified documents at his home and his office, and he is not authorized. The Supreme Court has given the president, whoever sits in the seat, the ability to authorize the possession either by himself or someone else any classified document. He could do that. He has that power. He's the only one. Can't be checked by anybody. Supreme Court's ruled. Obama, Clinton, Bush Jr., Trump, Joe Biden, the auto pin, it doesn't matter. Well, maybe not the auto pin, but John Bolton had classified military strategy documents at his house and his office, and had classified weapons of mass destruction documents. What did he do with those documents? That's why he's going to be charged. And he's next. Batter up. He's next. Here we come. Will it be? Who will be next? Strong likelihood it will be him. But it could be others. I don't know. Here is John Solomon on Hannity saying more arrests coming.
John, let's start with the news and what you're hearing tonight.
Well, listen, the key testimony against James Comey is going to come from his inner circle. One of the people that he trusted and ran the FBI alongside of will be the key witness saying, no, he authorized me to leak information contrary to what he testified to Congress. That's going to be a difficult case for James Comey to defend. I just want to step back. Yeah, well, it could be McCabe. It could be Daniel Ritchie. It could be James Baker. I keep an eye on James Baker. Remember the documents we had on your show a couple of weeks ago? All three of those are in position to testify they were authorized to leak. We'll see which one is person three when we in the indictment, but I would bet it's James Baker from what I know. The second thing that is just the pure magnitude of what happened today. 50 years ago this year, an attorney general was convicted for the first time in history of crimes. Tonight, for the first time in history, an FBI director is indicted on crimes, and both men face the same charges: false statements and obstruction of justice. It's an extraordinary moment, a grave moment, when a director of the FBI is accused of this level of criminality.
Your sources tonight are telling you what, John Solomon? What could be next?
I think other government officials are in danger of being indicted in the coming weeks, some in the FBI, some in other parts of the government. This is the beginning of a large accountability roundup in government. And I think what's really remarkable, most of my career I've spent uncovering FBI cover-ups. The FBI has a long history of misleading Congress. Comey falls into that. But the evidence against Comey tonight comes from the FBI and its new director, Kash Patel, who promised radical transparency. And he actually provides the key piece of evidence that leads to this indictment. If you're a member of Congress and you've been tired of being lied to by the FBI, tonight's the first time the FBI actually did something about it. They turned in their own man tonight. I think that's an extraordinary part of this story.
Let me answer this. Mike 8686 says, if the president declassified documents, it is recorded at the time. Is it recorded at the time? If any president can lie years later to protect someone, there needs to be paperwork at the time of declass. No. Supreme Court has ruled that by the president's word. So, for example, if Joe Biden, which he didn't do for some reason, came out and said, I authorized, not Joe Biden. If Barack Obama came out and said, I authorized Joe Biden to take those documents, that was all that needed to be said. And those documents that were behind the Corvette, perfectly legal. According to the Supreme Court, the power to declassify of the president, whoever sits in the seat, is just like the power of the pardon. You can't do anything about it. And all the president has to do is say, here. And that's enough to declassify. He doesn't have to write down. He doesn't tell anybody. Doesn't go through a committee. Nothing. That's just, I know I understand where you're coming from, Mike. That's what the Supreme Court ruled. So in order to change that, I'm pretty sure that the declassification, I'm pretty sure that's a constitutional, I don't know the exact article, so it would have to be a constitutional amendment to change it. I'm pretty sure about that. Steve Bannon replies to Donald Trump's post, says Comey won't make it in prison. This is a death sentence. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. I mean, I don't know. That's what you're saying. And then here's another one. Adam Shifty Shift. Donald Trump forced out the respected U.S. attorney because they wouldn't go along with Trump's demand for political prosecutions. And Alex here says, hopefully you're indicted next. It's coming. His is coming for fraud. Adam Shifty Shift is caught in a box. He either cannot be senator or he committed mortgage fraud. The Constitution's very clear. Here's another one. Paul Sperry reporting. The lead reporter on the New York Times defense piece on Comey indictment, calling it deeply troubling and retribution by fierce Trump loyalist, is none other than Dalvin, the boy from Troy, Barrett, who is trying to protect his Russian Gate Pulitzer. That's right. The guy who won a Pulitzer from his reporting on Russia is the one saying that this is deeply troubling and retribution in the New York Times. The New York Times is nothing but an old rag anyways. It don't matter. It don't matter. It's ridiculous. You know, someone's knocking on the door there, James. I wonder who it is. The memes are out there for sure. Yep. Now, I don't know who this guy is on Twitter, but he makes a good point, so I wanted to share it with y'all. So freaking strategic to go after James Comey first. Take the one off the board that's most likely to have information on everybody else. Take the one off the board that was responsible for hiding, covering up, and lying about crimes committed by the elites. Take the one off the board that took millions in bribes and payoffs. Now that's nobody. I don't have any proof of that. Neither does this guy, but I wouldn't be surprised. In charge for coordinating and terminating the investigations. You know, no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute. Take the one off the board that had complete knowledge of the treason and sedition being committed by members of Congress, other elected officials, and those who held government offices. Then those charges and those promises of prison time as leverage to force cooperation against all the others they have aided and abetted, going from the top down, develops proof of a conspiracy. And you've got all you need for RICO. This is genius. And by the way, that is standard operating. Just ask Rudy Giuliani. You get the foot soldiers first. You start at the bottom and you start arresting people and going up, right? And when you start getting people of James Comey, even if he doesn't talk, they don't know he didn't talk. When they get him in there, by the way, what comes next? Indictment, right? Then they get the lawyers and they go back and forth. Then comes depositions. Sometime between now, probably the end of the year, they'll have depositions. Yep. They won't know. Everybody else involved won't know what he said because those are secret intel. Just remember that. Says, who wants to play this game? I do. Right. We've one down, several more to go. What a day we are having, right? What a day we're having. And then Mike Bentz put this out, said, never forget. They arrested the United States president, his lawyers, his accountants, his campaign manager, his media allies, even his valet. Talking to David Firm. Hi, David. Were any of these an attack on the rule of law? Oh, yeah, 100% attack on the rule of law. 100% attack on the rule of law. Let's see here. looking for. Oh, this is where it gets interesting. By the way, this is just putting this up there because silver's at 46, gold at 38.04. Just putting this up there. This is why I don't buy Bitcoin. This is the reason why. It says Thel, we all know who that is, right? Doesn't understand that God sent Bitcoin to do battle with the Antichrist. Bitcoin is God. And that's because down here it says Peter Thel saying that fearing or regulating AI or opposing its progress would hasten the coming of the Antichrist. I mean, what you got going on, what you have here is an argument between two people with idols about whose idol is a better idol. Doesn't end well for people with idols. I've been reading in Jeremiah. Doesn't end well for people with idols. I'm just saying. So, just saying. And this is an interesting post. 5 years ago, yesterday. Now, I don't know about all this Q stuff, but 5 years ago, yesterday, this was posted by Q. And it says, worth remembering, think what you know now. 5/25/2020. And it sent a link. It says 5 years ago today, Q posted a link to a tweet by James Comey that was originally tweeted in 2019. It says, so it was all lies, no treason, no spying on the campaign, no tapping Trump's wires. It was just good people trying to protect America. Isn't that weird? Do you think they waited until that day to indict him just because of that? I mean, I don't know. That's just insane, isn't it? Just insane. I got to get, there's so much going on here. Let's see. Nope, not that one. Let's see. Oh, here is Goldman. He's the Levi Strauss heir, congressman. And here's what he says on CNN about this.
How do you see this? There's so many different directions to go towards. It is fundamentally a breakpoint in our system of government. A breakpoint. And the reason is the United States, for its entire history, has gone around the world promoting anti-corruption, promoting the number one thing that our government insists upon in any other country that wants to be democratic, wants to get our support, is that the leaders do not use the criminal justice system to retaliate or to go after their political adversaries. This is open and shut. That is exactly what the Department of Justice has done. Donald Trump has laid it out. If this case even goes to trial and is not dismissed by vindictive prosecution, it's a non-starter. But it doesn't even really matter so much tonight, because even James Comey recognizes that the individual case against him is far less important than the damage this is doing and has done to the Department of Justice.
I mean, these people are so full of themselves. I'm hitting the wrong buttons. It's utterly ridiculous. I mean, have we forgotten just a few years ago? And he was cheering it on.
I think
it's just crazy. So in just a second, as soon as he pops on, I'm going to have a good friend of mine, a special guest. He's on there, but he's turned himself off. So as soon as he's ready, I'll have him on here, and we'll get started with this. I'll just skip that one because there he is. I see him popping in the background. So I'm going to bring on a guest, a friend, a mentor, a business man, real estate mogul. He has helped thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people create a lifestyle through social media and stuff like that, and creating wealth for themselves, coached so many people. I mean, there's so many people out there that attribute their success to this guy. And I'm going to have him come on and just talk about success and what's going on. So welcome to the stage, John Melton. There we go. I'm going to make that bigger. How you doing, brother?
Living the dream, man. Good to see you.
Wow.
I love your show.
Have you been watching in the background? It's been
fun. For the last like 15 minutes. I'm like, yes.
Hey, this is what I do, but this is what I thrive on. You know, some people I don't recommend doing this and following the media like this, but I thrive on. I'm anointed to do this. But anyways, that's another story. It's not about me, it's about you. So I brought you on today because I wanted to talk about, because you were in the company I was in. In fact, you got me started in it. The company I will no longer name out of disgrace. But I want you to tell me your story, how you got started, and lead up to what happened, and then we'll go from there. How about that?
Yeah, that's awesome. And thanks for having me. I know you guys, do a great job and do these shows all the time. And I know it's something that really is necessary in the marketplace these days, especially over the last few years, 4 or 5 years with the whole COVID debacle. But I started building an online business many years ago because I didn't want a job. I didn't like the whole go to school, get a degree, work for somebody else, exchange time for dollars. There's nothing wrong with it if you have something you actually enjoy doing. There was nothing I liked. I didn't like the idea of being an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, a school teacher. Like there was no job I had ever seen when I was in my, of course I was a teenager, right? And I'm like, I don't want to do anything these adults do. And I saw a network marketing presentation and they talked about how you could, get into selling and recruiting and building teams and working with people and learning how to be like a leader. Didn't know what that really meant. But they said you could be from Yale or jail. And I had been to jail before for a few days, a few times. Back in my drinking days, I haven't drank alcohol in 17 years. But back when I used to drink and party, I used to get in some trouble. 15-20% of the time I would make bad decisions on alcohol. Some people can drink and they're fine. They drink a couple drinks, they go to bed, everything's normal. For me, I had a problem. So I quit drinking. I got into personal development. I went to seminars. I hired business coaches. I failed a bunch of times, lost money in different investments, but eventually we, started doing pretty good. I would say it took me about 7 years to fire my boss and make a full-time income doing this direct sales thing. And then about 16 years, I became a millionaire, and that was in 2017. And then, so we were in the same company for about 10 years, right? You and I worked together, and a lot of people we were able to help, monetize their social media, build a brand, create content to attract people. I know you built this incredible community yourself, and that's what we started doing.
And it was partially inspired by you.
Yeah.
And go out and build a brand and start something. And so,
and talk about something.
He's part of the reason why we're all here together as a big family.
It's so cool. And it's so cool because you're talking about something you're passionate about, and I think that's really the thing that sets us apart, is that we teach people how to actually build influence. And, some people will say, oh, I'll never do videos, or I can never do what you do. And you know what? At one point, I couldn't do what I do. Mike couldn't do what he's doing, right? You didn't know, you didn't have a podcast. You didn't have this cool lighting and this background. And you maybe had the knowledge, you might have had the passion for politics, but we all start at suck. We all start with whether it's downloading YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Instagram. At one point we downloaded the app and we had 0 friends, 0 followers, and 0 clue. We all started somewhere. For me, I just didn't want to work for somebody else. And I also, the whole traditional business, I didn't have any money. So, I had no business experience. I waited tables. Maybe I could have started a restaurant. That probably would have been the worst idea. But I definitely had
very small.
Yeah. Well, I had an entrepreneurial spirit before being an entrepreneur was cool. Before it became a popular thing on social media. Now everybody wants to be, a boss, or, you got lady boss, or, these business gurus. And for me, I didn't really want to go in that direction. It didn't excite me. I just wanted to work with people and teach them how to generate leads and sell something that they actually got results using, a product they believed in. The problem was, even though we created a lot of success in that last company, as you kind of mentioned, you alluded to this, we got shut down in April on payday without warning and didn't get paid. And that company owes me like $300,000 for 42 days worth of work. So as far as I'm concerned, even though I'm grateful we had so much financial success, I also was disgusted with that private equity firm and the way they shut us down. And, you know, they damaged the livelihood of me and many other people that had worked really hard. Even people like you that, yeah, that wasn't like your primary source of income. It wasn't like your primary focus, but you were making a really great income doing that for a long time, marketing a product you believed in. So you had happy customers, you're making money. And I had people that, you know, they were making 10, 20, 30,000 a month. And they had kind of retired. They were kind of just like, enjoying their residual check. And it was taken away from them. And what stinks is some of those people, they're not going to do our new business, Nueva. Like they're not involved in this new venture. And it's unfortunate because they were so disgusted by what happened. And I was too, that they were like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. Now, luckily, people like you, people like me, and many other people that were with our previous company decided to come together and create something of our own. So we can never have it ripped away from us. At least not in that same fashion, right? I mean,
I understand the being done because with the company I was with before, I was done.
Yeah.
Done with that. So that's why with the company that won't be named, all I did was sell the product. So anyways, I didn't want to interrupt you, but there you go.
No, but it's true though. I mean, that was really the main goal, is to help customers. But of course, if you can find someone that's like, hey, I love this product. I'm losing weight. I'm getting results. And, I'm really happy with it. Can I do what you do? Can I promote this and earn an extra income? Plus, those people would say, hey, can I promote this so I can get my products paid for? I get, commissions that can cover the costs of my product. And again, if a product's working for you, why would you keep it a secret? Why would you keep it a secret? So we started to, build a pretty good foundation over the last I guess we started that company in 2015, and then it was shut down this April. So, we literally pivoted. We made a major pivot, major shift, and made a decision. We're going to start our own thing. That was the official launch was June 20th. So it's been a little over 90 days. And what we've created thus far, we did over $6 million in the first 90 days. We just launched a brand new nootropic mushroom coffee. We also have some oral peptides. We have this this nitro drink with hydrogen gas, and it like activates your nitric oxide. And then we also have a snow collagen. We even have a digital product, right? We have something where people can travel more and pay less. So I like having the variety of products. I like having the digital platform. And again, we're only about, maybe 100 days old at this point. So it really is, we've all heard that cliche, timing in business is everything. I think the timing is just really good. And by the way, all the products are made in America, right? We've got our vendor in California for the oral peptides, Texas for the nitro, and then Colorado is where we get our snow collagen from. I don't know why my phone keeps dropping down. Anyway, there we go.
So yeah, I mean, it was a mess when everything happened and stuff like that. What was it like for you guys behind the scenes? Just curious, as you were trying to.
It was definitely, the first couple of weeks were really stressful because there was so much to figure out. I mean, we had to figure out our compensation, we had to figure out our products, labels, pricing. I mean, everything. We had to figure out everything those first couple of weeks.
Starting from zero, so
we were, but we weren't, because we had this infrastructure to latch onto with my buddy Josh, because he already has other companies that he runs. So he's got, the vendors, the warehouse, the shipping capability, the registration, the back office, like the online back office that you can log into to place orders, to check your commissions, to track your business. So he had all of that in place. And then Brian I know you don't like Bitcoin, right? But Brian actually has over like $100 million in crypto, Bitcoin, all these other altcoins and all this stuff. He's been investing in crypto for years, but he also owns other companies. I mean, the guy, he's made some really risky decisions that paid off big time. And he's been in the profession for over 30 years. And then my partner, Tim, is probably one of the smartest people I know. He just has a very logical brain, and he's a researcher, he's a reader, he's an analyzer. And then of course my genius wife, right? She put together the whole like marketing team, the customer support team, like that. And we already had a lot of that kind of in place with our personal brand. So it wasn't that much to take on for us. It was just, we had a little bit of I'd say like decision fatigue those first couple months, definitely those first couple weeks. I mean, you're trying to like name your company, you're trying to name your products, you're trying to figure out what the heck to sell. I mean, it was a lot of research, a lot of Zooms, a lot of calls. But again, having these really smart people that we're partnered with, and then me with all my relationships, I'm bringing the people and they're bringing everything else. And it was just that perfect synergy. And of course, it helps that we have the Zaleckis, Margie, Michelle Barnes, the Teagues, some of these, top tier leaders that have been in the profession for decades, and they all decided to come with us. So it was kind of a team decision and a move we made together. Otherwise, it would have felt a lot more like starting from scratch, not having, like if everybody would have just, branched out and gone in different directions, that would have been a lot harder.
Yes, definitely. And when we got the email, actually you posted it on Facebook before I even looked at it. And I said, "Did you see this?" to my wife? And she goes, "What?" And my wife immediately went into panic mode. But I was as calm as can be, because I was just felt like there's something coming. There's another step here. And then, so I was messaging you. Of course, you had 6 gazillion messages. So, and you were just saying, hold up, just hold up. We got something coming. Yeah. So, and one of the things too, that I thought about just as you were talking about that is, a lot of times leaders from other type of companies like this, they'll get frustrated, they'll quit, they'll leave, they'll start their own thing or go somewhere else, and they'll start snagging other team members and taking them with them. And it's messy, it's ugly. If you had done something like that, I don't know that I would have followed you. But in this particular case, the company's gone. So it was like perfect timing. Everything just sort of just fell together like it was inspired. Does that make sense?
And the truth is, we had issues the last couple of years with the previous company, right? I'm the same as you. I'm like, it's like Voldemort. I don't want to say the name, but we had some issues, but you hit the nail on the head. I'm like, yeah, there's problems, but who's to say I'm not going to go over there and they have a whole other box of problems that I don't, you open up that box, you're like, oh, this is even worse. And I still had over $2 million in monthly subscriptions. I mean, people were still using the products. And again, there were problems, but I kept saying, you know what? Worst case scenario, if something really bad happens, we'll all go somewhere else together. But I kept telling people, I just thought a new ownership would come in. I thought like a new equity firm or the bank would take over. I just figured there'd be something that would kind of work itself out. And in some ways you could say that did happen, but it was after the company shut itself down. It was weeks later, and there was some other company that came in and bought them. But at that point, we were already done. At that point, it was like, no. And you know what? Here's the thing, Mike. They weren't going to pay us. So I'm like, why would I ever in a million years go promote that brand again, even if it does have a new owner, even if it does? You owe me hundreds of thousands. You owe my team collectively millions. Why would I ever go do that the way you did us so dirty? And this new company, hey, maybe they'll figure out a way to, build back that old brand's credibility, but I have no interest in being a part of it. And on top of that, I actually think this was a giant blessing in disguise. I think this was always meant to be. Now, obviously, I didn't feel that way like the first 24 to 48 hours, but once we kind of cooled off and realized, like, you know what? We've had this happen before where a company shut its doors. Now, before it was the FTC, it was the government that shut the company down that I was with. That also was not enjoyable. But every single time I've had to rebuild, we built it bigger, faster, stronger. We made more money. Our people made more money. So as far as I'm concerned, and maybe that's part of the reason I didn't freak out, because number one, I have faith that things are supposed to happen in a certain way. And sometimes it's a bad thing that happens, but some of the worst things in life that happen, good things come out of it. So that was my mentality. But also the other truth is I'd been through something like this before and it wasn't that bad. I mean, it sucked at the time, but you'd look back weeks later, months later. I mean, Tim and I always have a joke that like we should be sending the FTC thank you letters because we made way more money after that happened and had way more success and helped a lot more people after the FTC shut us down. I think we'll be saying the same thing about the equity firm. You know, a couple years from now, we'll be cracking up like, man, can you imagine if we were still there, just, you know, barely growing? We're here, we have our own thing, we can control our own destiny. And I just feel like in general, I mean, again, we've all heard the cliche, timing in business is everything. You can't get in any earlier than year one.
Right. That's just it too. So that being said, you've been in this industry, what, 20 something years?
24 years as of yesterday. 24 years ago, I went to my first presentation.
Yeah, I dabbled
yesterday.
I've not had nearly the success you've had. I've done pretty well with the last company. I did pretty okay with the company before that. But my first time ever seeing this industry was in 1991.
Wow.
A guy, I was in the Army, Fort Benning, Georgia, and one of the guys in my platoon says, "Hey, you want a business?" And I said, "Doing what?" And he goes, "Come on, let's go to this meeting." And we jumped in his Hyundai that we had to turn the air conditioner off at the stoplight so the car wouldn't stall. And we went to this meeting at this hotel. It was Amway, and they, drew the 642 and all that stuff. And if you did that, you'd be in tall cotton at $2,000 a month. And I thought, man, this is it. I think I made $8. But my point is saying all that is yeah, right. I think I might still have the check somewhere if I look around. I don't think I cashed it. Your experience, 24 years, massive success, top not just in companies, but top in the world in this type of marketing. What do you think? Where do you think putting on, look, this is my conspiracy theory hat. See this? I put this on when I talk conspiracies.
That's amazing.
Where do you think? Prognosticate. What in your opinion, this is not guaranteed. This is not income disclosure or anything like that. This is just my experience based on where we are now, where we'll be in a year, 2, 10 years. What do you think?
I mean, it's obviously always hard to say when you're only like 90 days old, but just based on the foundation we have, I have no doubt we'll at least get to $10 million a month, which is a $100 million company. And we never did that much in my previous company as a team. So that would already be well beyond our very best years in our previous company. But I mean, I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, but there are companies out there with a lot less attraction, capability, culture, the leaders, the people that we have doing a couple $100 million a year. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, we're going to do billions of dollars a year. We're not competing with Amway. We're competing with Amazon. That used to be the story. Some people would. I'm not a fan of hype. If we're just doing $10 to $20 million a month, everybody that's involved with us now, as long as they like work hard and get their piece of the pie, they're all going to be very, very well. Because you got to look at it like this. If we're at 6 million total sales and someone's involved with us right now, like you and some of the other people that are already on board, if we go to just 60 million, that is 10x. That is 10 times the business. Let's say we're doing 2 million a month and we go to 20 million a month, right? That is 10xing the business, which means anybody involved right now has a chance to 10x their income, 10x their results. Now, that doesn't mean it's get rich quick. That doesn't mean that it's easy. In fact, anything easy is typically sleazy money, right? Like, or you're risking a lot. It's like, I was talking about Brian, right? Brian's had some pretty incredible results from certain things he's invested in, but he's also risked a lot to have that happen. And he's probably lost just as much money, but that guy, he's built differently, right? There are some people out there that like, they have a high tolerance for risk. I'm actually not one of those people. I don't like high risk. I also don't like the idea of no risk. I think the riskiest thing you could do is just, work for somebody else and expect that to be the thing that takes care of you long after you retire or can't work. Like, I don't want to be in my 70s, 80s, 90s, however long I live on this planet, God willing, and have, not enough money to take care of myself. My kids have to take care of me, or my grandkids. Like, I wouldn't want that, right? So to me, that's the riskiest thing to do, is just to have a job and fingers crossed, hope for the best. With that being said, most of the people that actually work our business do it alongside their job, right? I had a full-time job for years while I was doing this kind of business. Obviously not this company, but a different company. And eventually I built up enough confidence. I built up a big enough foundation, a following, whatever you want to call it, where I was able to replace my full-time income with my part-time business. So now I have a choice. Do I want to now take my plan B and turn it into a plan A, or do I just want to have a plan A and a plan B? I like having choices. Most people don't have a choice. They have to go to work even if they hate their job. They have to go to work every day because they can't pay their bills without the job. So as far as I'm concerned, this is something that doesn't have a lot of risk. It doesn't have a lot of like you're not putting up thousands of dollars and then thousands
Well,
of
right now,
months
you
of
start
overhead.
for $0. So there's no risk. I mean, and not only starting for $0, what I talk about when I talk to people, you can share the product for free and get paid for $0, zero investment. There ain't a business on the planet you can do that.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, too, we work with you. We partner with you. You're buying a business with no cost. The only cost is the products, right?
Right.
If you want to buy some products, which, it does make logical sense to purchase the thing you want to sell, because it's hard to sell it if you're like, well, I don't know what it tastes like. I don't know what it does, but you should buy it, right? It does make sense.
Right.
But the beauty is, it's a lot of these products, like, how many of us already drink a product that has some caffeine or energy elements? How many of us already drink coffee? How many of us, either drink or consume a collagen supplement, or we know we should? How many of us have heard of peptides? And, we'd like to maybe, get in shape, lose some weight. Maybe we want more energy. Maybe we want better sleep. Maybe we're having some other underlying issues. And it's not just supplements. It's not just taking a product or a peptide or a drink or whatever. It's also making better choices every day. Walking could be as simple as just walking for 10 minutes after a meal, eating more protein, drinking more water, less sugary drinks. So we try to educate people on making better choices and then giving them the support, giving them the accountability or the community to plug into. So to me, it's not just about what the product is and what it does, or about the business and how you can earn income. It's also that you're working with all these other people that have similar goals. They're positive, they're open-minded. Like, if you have a bad attitude and you're a super negative person, not interested. We're not here to convince people. If you're open, awesome. If you're not open, also awesome. This is like any other business in the world. How many people have gotten, I don't know, a real estate license because they thought, hey, this is something I can do to make extra money, and they sold approximately no houses, right? That doesn't mean real estate doesn't work. How many of us know people that got a gym membership and never went to the gym? Doesn't mean the gym doesn't work. I dropped out of community college. Now, I do think college is a little bit kind of sort of a scam, depending on what you're going to school for. That's a whole other conversation.
Like, if it's a subject for the Patriot Mike Show.
You get it. I mean, it's like, listen, if you're going to school to be an engineer or a doctor, of course, I wouldn't want my doctor to be like, nah, I just studied online and learned from ChatGPT. I mean, I'd want them to have a medical degree. But with that being said, there's a lot of people out there that are just realizing that the traditional route is not for them. So if you're open to something else, you don't have to quit doing what you're doing. You can just add this on the side. And I'm just glad I took a chance and bet on me 24 years ago, because obviously, yeah, the money's cool, but I'm a better version of myself, a better father, a better husband. I'm better in many ways than I probably would have been if I would have kept going down the path of drinking, getting in trouble, fighting, like all the things I was doing at a much younger age. I think this business in many ways saved my life, because I just had no direction or vision for my future.
Yeah, man. You think about that. I wonder how many people have that story right there. I know with me getting involved, like I said, with Amway all them years ago, I didn't get nothing out of it other than personal development. I read books.
Yep.
I went to meetings where they talked about improving and bettering yourself, wore the red tie and a suit that didn't fit, but that's a whole nother story.
But it is funny how people make fun of like, oh, self-help books and all this nonsense. And it's like, sure, but the Bible is probably the #1 self-help book out there. And I think ultimately those lessons, whether it's from the Bible or you're reading John Maxwell or you're listening to a podcast by, I don't know, Brendan Bouchard, or you listen to Andy Vassell or Grant Cardone, it doesn't matter. Whoever you like, whoever you listen to, whoever inspired. How many of us have read Donald Trump's books, right? Like Art of the Deal and all these things. Like, there is value in listening to people that have been doing something that you want to do. They have the lifestyle, the income, the freedom. They have this success story, and they're like, "Hey, here's how I did it. Here's exactly what you need to do." Now, it's up to you if you want to consume that information or if you want to put forth the effort. But you look at Mike. Mike could have easily said, "No, I'm not comfortable doing videos," and not have this amazing show that he has today. And he could have been a totally different. He could have been in a totally different situation if he didn't make that one choice several years back.
I could still be selling cars.
Right.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I enjoyed the car business, but ugh.
Well, the funny thing is, there's probably people out there that started off selling cars and then they made one little choice to start their own dealership, and now they have a nationwide dealership, right? So whether it's car sales, solar sales, insurance sales, this type of business that you and I are doing, building online businesses, building a brand, like all of that is kind of in that realm of what I'm talking about, like that entrepreneurial spirit, that you're in a performance-based income. And I didn't realize that existed because they didn't talk about that in school. It wasn't like, hey, what blew my mind, not to go on a rant about this, but I remember when I was in the mortgage industry and I started pulling people's credit scores and pulling their, you do the over the phone application. Like, what do you do? How long you been doing it? Oh, I'm self-employed. Oh, okay. What do you do? Oh, I own some dump trucks. Like, oh, what's your income? $400,000 a year. What? You own dump trucks? And you're making $400,000 a year? I'm like 22, right? And I'm like, or 23 years old, and I'm filling out these applications for people. And you're just like coming across business owners and entrepreneurs, and you're like, why wasn't that even suggested when I was going to school? Why wasn't it even like a topic of conversation that, hey, you don't have to just get a degree, get a job, and work for someone else. And, a lot of those people that you're working for, they dropped out of school. So it would have been nice if there was someone like this conversation we're having right now, if there would have been something like this 20 some years ago. So I didn't think that I was just some loser because I didn't see that path working for me.
Right. So let me say, so we wrap this up. There's people in the comment section saying, well, I'm not a salesperson. I don't know if I could do something like this. What do you say to somebody who says, I'm not a salesperson and this may be too hard for me or something like that? What do you say to that person?
You're selling me right now, trying to convince me that you're not a salesperson. I mean, we're all in sales. How many of us have kids? Remember when they wouldn't put away their toys? They wouldn't go to bed. They wouldn't eat their vegetables. They didn't want to go to school. They didn't want to do their homework. I mean, you got to sell them on doing those things, right? And, it's funny because my daughter is like, I don't like school. I don't like school. And it's like, she's like, you didn't like school either. You didn't do your work and you got your mom to help you with your homework. And I'm like, that's true. I went to public school. I'm paying $30,000 a year for you to go to school, honey.
Yeah.
We can switch you to public school and then you can do whatever you want. She's like, no. I'm like, well, do your freaking homework. And she's, by the way, she's like an honor roll student, but she just, like any kid gets overwhelmed by all the freaking homework. And let's be honest, don't get me on a rant about this, but a lot of that is like useless knowledge that you could easily find on Google or AI and all the things, right? Some of it is necessary, but most of it's not. I guess in some ways it teaches you how to have a work ethic and you learn how to learn. But all that being said, you can learn how to sell. You can learn how to market. You just have to be open-minded because look, we're not here to convince anybody. But I will say this, if you tried the product and you lost weight and you had an amazing result, would you really have to sell that story? Or would you just say, hey, like my buddy Louis hit me up yesterday. He goes, hey, my wife has been using the body for 30 days. She lost 15 pounds. He goes, she's a skinny bee now. And by the way, he would love your show. You can imagine the reels him and I share back and forth.
Well.
But
You're more than welcome to tell him about me.
Yeah. Well, but the point is, it's like Louis is a guy that I've known since we were in ACN years and years ago. And, you know, he hasn't really done anything in a while. But now that she lost 15 pounds in 30 days, it's not even selling. It's like, why wouldn't you at least post about that on social media? And you're going to get a whole bunch of people raising their hand going, what is that? Tell me more. I want to try it. Now, all of a sudden, you're taking orders and you're like, I guess I'm in sales.
Yeah. Or whatever. But when the orders come in, that's kind of fun too. And with the system that we have, the best thing about it is you just share the information in the link and they take care of all that themselves. You don't have to deal with it. You know, you don't have to go out to the auction, get the car, bring it back, fix it, clean it, put it out there, clean it again, put it back out there, clean it again, and deal with the customer when they come in and say, will this thing make it to California? And I'm like, it won't make it to Lamont, Missouri. I don't know what you're talking about. But so this is such an easier system. It's like you said, it's not easy.
Simple.
But it's a simple system. And you share a link, share a link, share a link, share a link. And once in a while, somebody takes that link and they join you, or they take that link and they buy something, and then like on Wednesday the phone goes ching 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 on your email, and it's like, oh, I got paid. Wonderful.
Yeah. Woo! It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So and sometimes it's not a lot. Sometimes whoa, that's more than I thought. So
I love it.
That's always a good day when it happens. So John, thank you so much for coming on and talking about that, because I've been trying to get him on for like a while now, and he's like, I'm really busy right now. So your time is appreciated. Thank you. And
Absolutely.
And to all the folks out there going, well, so seriously, how do I do this? There it is. Send me a text message to 660-620-2644 or an email to PatriotMikeShow@gmail.com, or just send me a message on Facebook. And I'll get back with you. I'll send you the information. I'll let you even talk to John if you have any questions. How about that? So thank you, John. You have a good day. We're going to end the show, and I appreciate it so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it too. All right, folks. Thanks for sticking with me for that. But I've been wanting to do this for a long time, because I think there's so much power in that for the individual. Look, I've got to go grocery shopping this afternoon, right? We all know how much things cost. Could you use an extra 100 or 200 or 500 or 1,000 or 2,000, or like when I was in the other company, $2,500 to $3,500 every single month? That's not an income promise. I mean, you got no worky, no pay, but it worked out well for me. Give it a try. By the way, it costs $0 to start, $0 to start selling, $0 to tell somebody else about it. And you still get paid. We can talk about all that. If you like have questions, you're like, I just want to go sign up for something, I don't know, message me, we'll talk. My question is, how can you promote a product you can't afford? Because somebody else can afford it. Somebody else can afford it. Send me a message, Melanie, 660-620-2644 or at PatriotMikeShow@gmail.com, and we'll talk about it in detail. I'm not going to do it on the show right now. Everybody will get bored to tears with that. So, but I'll tell you exactly how I feel about that, because I understand exactly what you're saying, because I know, I've been there. And I was skeptical of things for the very same reason. But I found out that selling cars, I found out that there's always a way. And here's the other thing. Some people won't and some people will. I'm not worried about the won'ts. Just got to get to the ones that will. That's all there is to it. So anyways, as usual, it's Friday. So make sure you do yourself a favor. Turn it off. Turn off the news. Turn off the TV. Turn it all off. Take a break. Go outside. It's beautiful weather right now. Winter ain't quite got here. Summer's on its way out. So go out and dip your toes in the sand or the grass or the mud or whatever you do for you. Go do that and leave it alone. Leave it alone. And Monday, I'll come back and I'll tell you about everything that happened. And we'll do another Patriot Mike show right here. Same bat time, same bat channel on the Righteous Rebellion Patriot Broadcast Network. How about that? Anyways, appreciate y'all being out there and putting up with me. You guys have a great day. Patriot Mike is out.